Mia, hello. Jackie, hi. I'm so happy to see all of your names. Thank you for joining me tonight. Okay, so let me start over. We are making tiramisu, which is a classic Italian dessert. It's a custard and cream base with some rum, or you could use some other liqueurs, which we'll talk about, layered with ladyfinger cookies and then refrigerated overnight, which makes it perfect for entertaining. It's perfect for summer. You don't have to bake. I'm so happy to see everyone saying they can hear me, and that got you all like typing, which also makes me happy. So going back to the beginning, if you have questions as I'm going along about this, about past weeks, about anything you want to ask, cooking, techniques, equipment, that's why I'm here. So let me know, type it in the comments, and then I know that you're there, and I love to just chat as I go along. So we have all these ingredients. I just made 2 espressos in my espresso machine over here, and I just made one more, so I'm going to pour that in with these, and then we're going to add some sugar and some rum to the espresso. So the point of this is that eventually we're going to dip our ladyfingers in here just a little bit to get the coffee and rum and sugar into them. So this is a total of 6 tablespoons of rum, I'm going to measure it again. We're putting 2 of them into the espresso. The rest is going to go into our eggs. And this is 3/4 of a cup of sugar. I'm putting about 1/4 of a cup into the hot coffee so it will dissolve. And I'll just whisk that together and let it cool. Okay. Next we're going to make the espresso part. We're going to make our custard and then fold it into the mascarpone cheese and then fold that into some whipped cream. So the end result is an airy, custardy concoction that's just so beautiful and delicious. So let me move this out of my way. And what we have here is a Bain Marie. So we have a bowl. This water is heating up right now, set on top of the water so that when you're working with eggs or egg yolks and whisking them and you want it to become a custard or something smooth and not scrambled eggs, it gives it a more gentle heat. So we've done a Bain Marie before. We did it a couple times for a bechamel. We did it, I think, for our lava cakes. We've done it a few times. So this is a perfect opportunity to do this as well. And I'm going to separate my egg yolks. As usual, I save the whites for other things, for meringues. And hi Teresa, hello, welcome. I just saw your comment as well. So I do them the same way I always do, which is one at a time. So I separate the egg over this bowl, and then if the white comes out without any yolk in it at all, like no speck of yolk, then it goes into this bowl where I'll save like 6 yolks together for something else. If it gets any yolk, if it does get some yolk in it, I put it somewhere else because it will never fluff. Like you can't make meringues out of it. You can't whip it if it has any fat in it. So if you did them all into one, see I already broke that one. If you did it all into one container, then if the fat goes in, they're all contaminated, you know what I mean? So, okay, 6 egg yolks going into the Bain Marie. And this is the only heat involved in the whole thing. So, whoops, I almost didn't do it. Transfer that one. Next one. So I'm going to do, I'm spending the summer, we're not doing lives over the summer, but I'm spending some time making all these little videos that we've talked about, like how to make meringues, how to make, all the side things that have come up all this time. So I think that would be a good one. It's not a good one for a live stream because they're in the oven for hours and hours and hours on low temperature. All right, so you just separate the egg by going back and forth. I see Jackie is here. Jackie made the tarte flambe that we did last week and is going to do it again and send us a picture to admire your work, which made me very happy. Yes, okay, that was 3. And I can hear the water starting to boil. Over here, you don't want to get your hands mixed up. Like, where does the yolk go? Where does the white go? 4. 5, and 1 more. Oh yeah, Jackie's saying it was so yummy, and they did it without the bacon. So actually, if anyone's interested in that, Jackie had asked me on Instagram what you could do to substitute for the bacon. So there's some discussion about that under that post. And I think I even mentioned it on the live last week that, you know, you kind of think about what the bacon adds, which is the fat and the salt and the smokiness, and you can use other things. So these are 6 egg whites that have no fat in them. You could freeze that. You could freeze them in ice cube trays and use it for other things. So that's going over there. And I'm adding this remaining half a cup of sugar to our egg yolks. And you're gonna see this comes together so beautifully. And then another 1/4 cup of rum is going in there as well. Hold on, I'm gonna come back to the bacon thing in a second. So we put the rum in here, and now you can see what this looks like right now. And I start whisking. And you can see it's a bright yellow. The sugar is granular, you know, it's grainy. And it's very liquidy. So we're going to just whisk for a while. So you have to just kind of hang with me. It'll settle in for a while until this is a pale, buttery color. And let me show you one other thing. If I lift this up right now, it just drips off of the whisk. We want it pale and light and fluffy and coming off of the whisk in ribbons, it's called, like where it's like a trail and you can see the whisk going through it a little bit. So it takes a little while. We're going to do that together. Basically, most of this recipe is just incorporating air into the different ingredients to make it so light and beautiful. Okay, so as you can see, if you did this in a regular pan, it would be scrambled eggs already. You know, but the rum helps to keep it moving. It's not as thick. If you don't want alcohol in this, first of all, rum is the most popular, I think, American option. The very traditional way is Marsala wine, so that would be a slightly different flavor, and you can do that. And I've also seen a lot with Kahlua, which kind of doubles down on the coffee flavor and the sweetness, and that would be really nice too. So any of those is totally acceptable. You know, we have the coffee over here, a little Kahlua, never hurt anyone. But if you wanted to do this without alcohol, you certainly could. Maybe a little bit of vanilla, which has alcohol, if you can tolerate that much. Otherwise, just maybe a couple tablespoons of water, so this isn't so thick when you're whisking it. So, okay, we're getting frothy already. It's gonna be a while, but you'll see it's like an amazing difference by the time it's done. I'm doing this with my left hand while I fuss with the cameras. Whoa, there we go, a little bit closer up. Okay, so getting back to the bacon. Salt, sugar, and then we were saying maybe a little bit of smoked paprika to give that smokiness, and a little bit of olive oil or something drizzled on top for the fat. Although, like we said, the bacon is a little bit like a sparing amount on a tarte flambe. So I'm curious, Jackie, which of those things you did. But it sounds like it was so good. Okay, this will take a few more minutes. So, let's talk about the science for a minute. If you ever cook a fried egg, which I'm sure we all have, the white cooks before the yolk, so then you can have the runny yolk in the end. So when you're making a sauce like this, any kind of egg custard, the cream for a cream puff, that type of thing, any of these sauces, you want the yolks to get just to the temperature where the yolk starts to cook. So a white, it's called the proteins denature, which means they straighten out and reseparate in different ways, and that's why it becomes solid. So the white protein denatures at like 120 degrees, and the yolks do it around 150 degrees. So you don't need to know that to do this. You don't need to use a thermometer, but I find it interesting. You know, I always have this probe thermometer that it really does, at that exact temperature, start to thicken up and do exactly what we want it to do. So we're going to test that together today as well. I'm doing a bad job because it's with my left hand. All right, so the bowl gets a little bit hot, just be careful. And we're just whisking the air into this, and it's already looking so nice. And let's see what temperature we are right now. This is going to be an hour of me whisking. Open this. Well, we're almost there actually. All right. No. Hold on. I lied. I think I lied. It's 250, 220 and 250. It's already at 148. I was like, no, that doesn't seem right. 250 is the temperature. So if you dip your finger in this right now, it's warm. It's also delicious. So I should mention what we're making right now, just the eggs, the sugar, and the rum, is called a sabayon, which is a sauce unto itself. So you can just make this sauce and pour it like onto the middle of a plate and place a dessert on top of it, which is also just a lovely presentation. So that is the key to your tiramisu. Okay, I promise it's worth it. And it's a good arm workout as well. I wish I could like gracefully do something with my other hand while this is happening. All right, so now I think you can see the difference on the camera. It's coming out very quickly. Okay. Like light and fluffy and airy. Let it sit for like a second to get hotter. Let's take the temperature. All right, 158. And what we want is to thicken this up. So in the end, the goal is to be able to cut the finished product into squares. So when we pull the finished one out later, we'll see if that was successful. But part of that is having, you know, the proteins thicker and the liquids cooked off, the alcohol cooked off, and all of that. So this is also how you make lemon curd. So if instead of the rum, you would put lemon juice. And then instead of the mascarpone cheese that we're going to use, you would drop in butter as you're whisking, and then the butter firms up when you chill it later, and you have lemon curd. It's very simple. All right, we're still a little bit like drippy off of the whisk, so we'll keep going. Probably 3 more minutes if you can hang out that long. 3 more minutes of whisking. So I remember as a kid, actually my brother's here, maybe he remembers the name of the restaurant. It was in Midland Park near where I live. And we had tiramisu, and I remember thinking, oh, it's so fancy, like sabayon, tiramisu, what is it, ladyfingers. It all sounded very fancy, as did everything in the 80s. So, and the thing about this dish is actually it's from the Veneto region of Italy, which includes Venice, but it's only been around since the 60s. I had no idea. I learned that today, actually. All right. I get impatient when you're all watching, but this has to be done. All right. Temperature check. No. I'm doubting myself right now about the temperature, but look, okay. Let me give you a close-up look. It's expanded quite a bit, and it's getting much lighter. And it's gonna get a little bit lighter than this. So this is the hard part, and luckily if you're making this for guests, you do this part the day before, not right at the moment, because it all has to cool and chill and come together. My brother said he's thinking of the name of the restaurant. I can't think of it right now, it was so long ago. Okay, so. No, I don't want to ruin it by being impatient, but I'm going to get my bowls up here to get ready for the next steps. So this bowl is going to be the mascarpone cheese, and eventually we'll mix this egg and sugar mixture into that. This bowl is going to be our whipped cream, which we'll whip with the hand beater, and then fold the two together. And then after that, all we need to do is dip our ladyfingers into the coffee and start assembling. So it's actually a lot of fun. If this ever thickens. I maybe put a little more rum than I did earlier today. So that liquid needs to cook off. Soon we will be there. All right. Can I do this with my other hand? Probably. Okay, so we have mascarpone cheese, which comes in these tubs. It's such a beautiful product. It's very smooth. It can go savory or sweet. And in this case, it's about room temperature. So there's a few things we're doing: eggs, cheese, and cream. Eggs should be room temperature when you whip them or when you start to work with them. It just makes it easier. In this case, the mascarpone cheese is room temperature because we want to melt it just enough to incorporate it, like not into a total liquid, but enough that it will be spread throughout the whole dish. And then when you whip cream, it should be ice cold as much as possible. So this actually just came out of the fridge like a minute before we started. And that will get it the most loft, and it will get it to stay fluffy the longest. All right, I appreciate that you're all like hanging out while I just whip this for a long time. It's going to happen soon, but I'm going to take a little break for a second and hopefully not turn it into scrambled eggs, just to get this mascarpone into our bowl. Okay, we can do it. All right, so I have a cup. This whole container is 1 cup, and a half of another container. 1.5 cups of mascarpone. You shouldn't do what I'm doing, which is letting this now simmer, but we gotta move on a little here. All right, 1.5 cups of this together, and that's waiting for our hot mixture in a minute. And then our cold cream, I just licked my thumb. My hands are very clean. It's going into this bowl, so that's 1.5 cups of cream as well. 1.5 cups of each, nice and cold. Let's give this a final look. Oh, it needs another, oh, okay, you can see the difference now. If you lift this up, it's starting to come off in long streams, and that's what we want. So we're basically there. We're basically there. I know, Jackie says I'm getting a workout. And Lauren, hi Lauren. I am, I'm getting like a workout, and I'm trying to do this with my left hand so that I can do other things. Maybe it's like a coordination test as well. I like whipping things like this, so when I find it very kind of meditative. Maybe not when everyone's waiting, but okay, now this is what I want, because I want to show you how it looks and how long things take. So now I'm going to put the camera back on it. You can see that the lines, I hope you can see, the lines of the whisk are staying just a little bit, like it's not quite so liquidy. And when I lift it up, it comes off in long streams. Okay, we're there. Whew, we did it. Like sometimes I do the cream by hand or the egg whites by hand. It gives a nice result. And It's kind of fun to do and to see it develop as you go. And Lauren says you did the flambe. It's true. Flambe means like fired or flamed, which actually they do cook those tarts in the wood burning oven. All right, we have a beautiful ribbon, finally, oh my God. Beautiful ribbons of our sabayon. So pretty. Okay, and now we're taking this off the heat. All right. Oh, and I'm done. No, I'm just kidding. Take this off the heat and let it sit for a few minutes just so it's not burning hot. Jackie says Lauren, her daughter, who's the same age as my daughter, is the chef, which is just wonderful. It's so nice, Lauren, that you love to cook. I love to cook too, if anyone didn't know. Okay, our cream, we're gonna do that now. So part 2 of you watching me whisk things, but I'm gonna use a electric mixer for this. So you might wanna lower your volume. We're not adding any sugar to this right now. There's already enough sugar in the eggs. So this takes much less time. So give me a few more seconds for this. No more watching me whip things now. We're done with that part. Mia said, when I do this, I have flecks of cream everywhere. How are you keeping it in the bowl? That's a good question. There are flecks of cream everywhere, though. There's it's a big bowl, first of all, for the amount of cream. But there are some over here. That's why I wore this dress, so you can't tell. But also keep your beaters way down in there. I have a tendency to lift it up. I'm doing one more second. Okay, so what we're going for here is stiff peaks, which means I could do one more second. Okay, stiff peaks meaning that you're seeing So everything is, I mean, it's sliding down a little bit, but it's very stiff. You can see the shape of where the beaters were. It's not sinking back down. All right, so we have our stiff peaks because we want it to stay up when it's chilling with all the other parts. All right, now for, you can't even see me. I'm gesturing and you're looking at a bowl. Okay, now for the fun part, we get to assemble. So we're taking our pretty hot still, and so good. That rum is delicious. Oops, this isn't even on anymore. Okay. I doubted myself after I told you the temperatures, but I think that was actually correct. And I will put some notes in the description. Although it's really more, that was more out of curiosity. Like I generally just do it by feel. It should be a little bit thick, you know, a little bit ribbony and glossy. Glossy is a good key when you're making sauces to know that you're on the right track. Okay, I'm gonna take a deep breath. Whew, the whipping and the noise is done. So now I have my mascarpone cheese in here, and I'm going to add the sabayon to that. Okay. We're gonna let those kind of hang out together. We'll whisk them. And like I said, the mascarpone, I don't wanna like liquefy it with the heat, but I want it melted enough that it's completely mixed in, like almost like a custard, because that's the part that is firm in the refrigerator. So later on, that's what's gonna make the whole thing firm. So I did read, and it was a good idea, if you make all this, and for whatever reason, like liquid balance or how big your eggs were, or whatever it is, it doesn't firm up, you know, after overnight in the fridge, you can freeze it and make slices of, it's like basically a no churn ice cream, or in France they call it like a custard ice cream, because there's so much air in there and the alcohol as well. It won't freeze solid like a block. So if all else fails, that's what you can do. And we actually had a lot of custard ice creams. And what is it called? Frozen. It's like almost like frozen custard, but I can't remember what they call it right now. Last time we were in the south of France, they're delicious, and we started making them when we got home. Okay, so here's our mascarpone and sabayon. And I'm not gonna mix, how hot is it? No, it's not very hot. I keep having you look at a bowl while I'm talking. All right. And we're going to fold that into our whipped cream. So the key, whenever you're folding a more liquidy, more heavy thing with a lighter thing, is to put a little bit of the lighter thing in first to lighten this up so it doesn't just smoosh your whole fluffed up whipped cream down immediately, and then pour it in and then gently fold and just until it's incorporated. So we are going to do that. All right, so usually about a third of the fluffy, oh, I lost my voice. A third of the fluffier one goes in to lighten up your heavier base. And you can see it already starts to look, and you don't have to be as gentle when you're doing that as you will be when you're folding it. Oh, it already looks so good. Like I said, just like pour this over ice cream or under a strawberry shortcake. That would be delicious. There's so many things you could do with this. Okay, and now we're going to pour this one into the lighter one, the whipped cream, and fold very gently. So there's some debate online about the whipped cream portion of this, and the debate is that some people say the classic recipe did not have the whipped cream, but rather the whipped egg whites from the eggs that we use. So they would use the yolks to make the sabayon. I'm just going around and over to fold this very gently. And then whip the whites, and that would be the fluffy portion. So I read a bunch of recipes and chose to do the whipped cream. It just adds a little bit more richness, but I'm actually curious about the egg way as well. So maybe I'll try that sometime. But, you know, whipped cream is much more delicious than plain whipped egg whites, so I figure it couldn't hurt. All right, I'm very gently folding this around, and I don't know if you can see on the camera that there are still like, oh, it looks like a chiffon, like a lemon chiffon, although it's not lemon. Like some swirls of the white and some swirls of the yellow, and it's very light. So now I'm going to leave it alone so I don't deflate it. And we're going to look at our ladyfingers. And David says it looks delicious. It is so good, like just that alone. And I think even if you froze this alone in, like, we are making tiramisu, but if you just took that part and froze it, you would be able to scoop it out like ice cream because it would not freeze solid. And that would be delicious as well. So, okay, we're gonna look at the ladyfingers, which is really the signature part of this dish. And they weren't very difficult to find. There are two types of ladyfingers. There are soft ones and there are crunchy hard ones. So we want the crunchy hard ones because we're adding liquid to them. So I was thinking about it, like when we did the stuffing at Thanksgiving and when we did the strata at Christmas, we dried all of those chunks of bread so that later it could soak up the liquid, because otherwise you have kind of mush if everything was already wet or had moisture to it, and then you add more moisture. So we're using these firm ones, and what I learned is that this is the package these came in. There are different brands, but not the brand, but the type is, am I gonna say this right? Savoiardi. Savoiardi is like the right type of ladyfinger. Whoa! As I break them all on the ground. They're still in their package. I'm probably saying that with the wrong accent, but that's like the type that is firm and correct for this. So, if you can only find the soft ones, what I read is instead of dipping them in this espresso mixture, you would brush a little bit on, but then you probably don't have as much espresso flavor. Is that enough explanation of that? Okay, so our espresso is cooled. I'm quickly just dipping each side of each ladyfinger into the espresso and then arranging them in a layer on the bottom of my pan. So this is let me pull those out, 9x9 baking dish. I like this one. I mean, they're all different ones, whatever you have on hand. I like that the sides are relatively straight, so when you cut it later, the outside pieces don't have that weird rounded edge to them. So I found when I did this earlier that it took one package plus a few more cookies. So I needed 2 packages and then had some leftover cookies or lady fingers. All right, so I did one row like that. Let me see, they don't really, mine doesn't do, I can force it, yeah. Before I did like one row like that and then some like this, but I think I can force them into 2 exact rows. Yeah, they're kind of perfect actually. All right, so again, for people who've joined us, this is espresso, rum, and sugar. So can't go wrong with that we're dipping these in. So we're going to do 2 layers, a full base layer of cookies, half of our custard, and then another layer of cookies and the rest of the custard, and decorate with some cocoa powder. And then I'll show you the one that I've already done, which I'm kind of excited about. I'm excited to cut it up and try it. This looks, I don't know if it's just my pan or if this is luck or what, but they fit so perfectly in 2 rows. Okay, so there's one layer. We'll take half of this cream mixture and pour it on top. Okay, spread that around. Get it into all the corners. gosh, it looks so good already. We were all licking all the spoons earlier because it is just so delicious. Okay, and then the next row of ladyfingers, the same thing. We're gonna dip them, pour out a bunch. Dip them and arrange them. Wait, which way were these going? Yeah, so pardon my finger poking in there. I think I will have it go the other way the second time. All right. I didn't count how many that was. I think the recipe that I wrote said 30 to 40, so let's count this time how many. And they'll come in different sizes. So if you need to break a little piece here and there to fill in, that's perfectly fine. You're not gonna see them. Kind of like a lasagna. If you have to break a noodle to fill in a space, that works. Okay. Can I fit one more? Yeah. No. Yes, no, I don't know. Yes. Oops. They're sticking up a little. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times 4, 32. And I think there were 24 in the package that I have. And it really uses up this full, practically, not all of it, but almost this full cup and a half of espresso. So that's all in there. The flavor of it. You can also use a good quality instant espresso. There's nothing wrong with that. I have one from Colombia that is really tasty that a former student gave me. And that would be perfectly fine too, because it's gonna have the sugar and all that. All right, 2 more. Oh, it looks so good. It looks so good. Look at that. All right, and then we pour, this one's a little more, I'm gonna push it down because we have so much more cream still. Okay. So we used almost a cup and a half of espresso with the rum. And now I'll put the rest of the cream on top. Oh, I hope it doesn't overflow. Okay, and then just gently spread this to the edges. I think I could have done 2 fewer cookies, but I like that it was like all the way edge to edge. Oh my God, it's so perfect. It's so perfect, yay. Okay, and like I said, this is going to firm up in the fridge. Mine actually, they said like 6 hours to overnight. Mine started to be pretty firm around 4 or 5 hours, but I would give it the full 6. So you could do this in the morning before guests are coming. Okay, so I'm just one more step. I'm going to wipe the edge clean, and then we're putting a layer of cocoa powder over the whole thing, you know, just to make it extra good. Wash off my hands. And then it will stick wherever it's kind of wet, so let's clean this off. I don't know if Lauren and Jackie are still here, but I'd love to hear sometime, since Lauren is a teenage chef, what kinds of things you like to make. Maybe we can make some of them sometime on the show in September when we start up again. Okay, look how beautiful. I can see that on the camera. It's like very lovely yellow. It is in person too, maybe a little paler, and very smooth. It looks beautiful. I'm so excited. Okay, and now for our cocoa powder. So if you have a sifter, that's a good way to get it like evenly spread across the top. I tend to just use a small, what do you call it? Like a sieve, a strainer or a sieve. And I have this beautiful dark cocoa powder that I'm going to use. So when I did it before, the cocoa powder is so fine, it went immediately right through, so like that. Do a little bit at a time, and then just, whoa. See how it's coming out so fast? When I do this with powdered sugar over the top of a dessert, it doesn't come out quite so fast. All right, a little more. So yeah, when you see a tiramisu, it has that classic cocoa powder on top, like this. All right, a little more. Hi Diana. Diana's saying yum. I know, it's so good. It's so good. I wish you could all taste it right now. I'm glad you're here. It's good to see you. I mean, what is wrong with cocoa powder and rum and sugar? So good. Cream. All right, I want to get all the edges. Basically just cover the whole thing in the cocoa powder. Okay. And maybe we'll put a little bit more on the piece that we cut too. Okay, so there we go. Hidden under there is all that deliciousness that we just made. And then that goes into the fridge. So I'm just gonna clean the edge one more time. And then we'll cut up the one that I made. So. Voila! There's our tiramisu completed. I mean, it looks like when they have them in the case and you can see them and there's like a piece missing, that's what it looks like. So I'm very pleased with that. All right, let me clean up a tiny bit and then we'll get out the other one that's been chilling. There's just too much cocoa powder here. I liked when I read about these things and it says, you know, it came from Italy, but then when it came to America, same thing like the chicken Kiev, everything came to America in the 80s and people went crazy for it. So it became like a trendy dish. Same thing with the crepes we made as well. There was a lot of trendy food at that time. Okay, now I'm gonna get the other one out of the fridge. Here it is. Okay, so that one's been chilling since early this morning. And let's say a little prayer that it's going to hold together. Worst case, it would maybe slump a little bit when you cut into it, and like I said, either it will be delicious anyway, or it can become a frozen dessert. David made a shock face. Ah, thank you. I know, look at that. Gorgeous. Okay. I also have some chocolate to make little shavings on top. I thought that would be lovely as well. So, how do we do this? Get a knife. I wish I had taken a picture of it. I didn't, but I have another one. So, they look the same. How big of a piece? I guess like thirds, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'll do thirds, okay. The moment of truth, send me good vibes. Ooh. Yeah, oh, it's definitely come together into one thing. There's a word for that I can't think of. That's going to be so good. Okay, let me wipe off my knife. Oh, my dog just stole the one cookie that I dropped before. Well, that'll be new for her. And we'll do like this. Okay. Oh, Jackie says it looks amazing, thank you. And then she wishes she had made it too. So, well, thank you. I know, I'd love to have some cook-alongs. Sometimes there's a lot of time jumps that makes it more difficult, but this one is good. But you can make it tomorrow. And if you want to text me, we can, we were DMing about some food before, so we can do that. The first one is always the hardest to get out of here. So, oh boy. Well, I will do it. Okay. Success. All right. Oh, total success. Look at that. So it's standing up on its own. That was the first concern. And it is successful. Let me bring you a little closer. Look at that. So you can see the layers of the ladyfingers and the custard in there, and it's all kind of melted together. Basically, the moisture goes into those ladyfingers and it all kind of combines together. So I'm very pleased with this. All right, let me do my presentation as usual and give you one more close-up look. It just looks amazing. So my common phrase at home, I don't know if I've said this before on here, is if I'm like just pleased with what I made, I say, well, if I got this in a restaurant, I would be very happy. Like, so I feel if I got this in a restaurant, I would be very happy. I'm going to put some chocolate pearls on top. So I just have some baker's chocolate, semi-sweet, and my vegetable peeler. And we'll just, well, they're not really curls, they're more like shavings. Put a few shavings around. I like to be extra fancy when we can, get some on the plate. And I meant to bring a mint leaf from the garden just to put very on top. You could put a raspberry, a mint leaf, just something to give it some color as well. Or you can just dig in and eat it as is. So, there's our tiramisu. I'm going to taste it. I am so excited. Oh my gosh. That is so good. Jackie and everyone else who is watching, I highly recommend making this. Jane just said you are so fancy. I know. I like to be a little garnish, a little chocolate shavings. Jane knows that about me as well. But this was really, besides that, you know, I was standing there whisking longer than I expected. It's really not difficult, and it is so worth the effort and so good. And I recommend this for your summer, to have it in the fridge and really impress everyone who comes around. So, I need another bite. That is so delicious. It has a really nice coffee, rum, creamy flavor. Highly recommend. And thank you for being here with me today. This was fun. My arms got a little workout. It finally feels like summer. Everything is coming up roses. So we have 3 more weeks. Oh, Suzanne, hello. Suzanne, thank you for joining us. She said it looks yummy, so thank you. It really is. I can attest to that. Yeah, it's really good. Whenever we make desserts, I'm literally like, I'm gonna need another bite. I need the lava cake. That was like the best thing I ever tasted. So thank you all. We have 3 more weeks of live streams until the summer break. And then, so June 15th, Mia's birthday. If she's able to join us on the live stream on her birthday, we will all sing happy birthday. And then we'll come back in September and start making some things again. So over the summer, any requests, I'm gonna do a lot of other things like I mentioned before, and we'll pick up where we left off. So thank you. I hope to see you all for the next 3 weeks, and over the summer, maybe in person. That would be wonderful. And I'm just so grateful for you for being here, cooking with me every week, and I can't wait to see you again. Mwah! Goodbye, everyone.